Well, I've had several questions about how I do my highlighting and what I use. And in this case, I use very basic general white, non-opaque acrylic paint. I like to use oil, but it just takes too long to dry, especially when you're working with something this large. I don't buy anything that has any blue hues or anything like that, specifically in this particular type project. I'm looking for more of the old antique look. Good thing about the acrylic paint, it dries fairly quick, and it's also easily to clean up in case you do happen to make a mistake. You can always fine down some of the particular areas that you might have put too much paint. It's also an area, that particular paint, that's not hard to clean up. And the white does go a long ways. It doesn't take much to go very far to add a lot of detail. You always want to hit just the highlight of the highest crest pointed area that you're thinking that you want it to be where it's highlighted. I try not to use a point of reference or highlight area, because then you have to do the entire piece with that light in mind from a directional point. It's great if there's something that you're looking forward to doing as far as the highlighted areas themselves, but it can bite you in the butt later on, because then your entire whole piece is driven based on that point of highlight or light reference. Like I said, it doesn't take much, and I try to stay away from sharp edges, like when I do my shading, like in these points and references from dark to light. I always go into the area because you don't want to create that straight line. And this particular piece that I'm doing for my family was originally going to be a tabletop, but my wife decided to get a different table and chairs, or might want to later on, so I decided to go ahead and just make this a wall piece. It is by far the largest piece I've ever done, and so far I'm about 50 hours into it, which is way more time than I have to spend on something like this, but I'm not rushed for time or anything like that, and I'm currently not doing any pieces for anybody. So it's a good time just to keep me busy, and especially with it being here in Texas as hot as it is this time of year and humid. It gets me out of the outdoors for a little bit, which I really enjoy a lot of. I really do appreciate those that do follow me and also ask questions and comments. I don't have a problem at all answering any questions if I know them. If anybody else has any suggestions, I greatly appreciate it. I don't know anything and everything for sure. I'm still learning this. I've done pyrography for 5 years now. I've been doing artwork since I was young teenager with my parents back in El Paso. I stopped for a number of years because I worked a lot of hours working in ambulances and hospitals and whatnot, emergency rooms. So I ran out of time doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And I just lost interest in it. And I went back to school 2 years ago. I take a visual arts class. And my wife and I had been married, I don't know, 5, 6 years. Had no idea that I could do this or even tried to do this. So from that point on, she knew what she was going to get me for my birthday and Christmas and everything else. And I've made an entire whole room into my passion, doing all sorts of artwork, and I don't have any particular preference. I like doing them all. It's another thing, if you want to do something fast as far as artwork, don't start pyrography. It is a very time-consuming effort. Something I enjoy a lot of, and it's very rewarding. Great stress reliever. Doing something you really, really enjoy is totally worth anything and everything that you put into it. More rewarding than going and getting a cheap thrill riding on a roller coaster. Because once you're done, it's over. Until the next time you get on it. Something like this is a lasting reward. The thing is, you don't want to add too much white because you don't want to take away from all your shading and shadowing. You only want to hit the highest crest points that you want to accent to add that much more depth to your piece. Like I was saying to someone else, it doesn't take much to go long ways. And sometimes you'll come back later on and go, hey, I want to add some more somewhere. Always funny, I always start looking at my photos or some of the videos now that I'm starting to do videos. That I see things that I don't see firsthand, so I start looking at my videos and go, hey, I wish I should have done that, or I should have done this instead, or whatever the case. Start critiquing your own artwork, and you start going back and you spend more and more time into something, and you realize that you've actually got more time you really wanted into something. And then when you're done with it, weeks or months later, as long as you're satisfied with the final product, that's all that matters. I decided not to do a time lapse of this one because every video I've done so far, it seemed like the white highlighted areas didn't take that long, and it was like a snapshot. Boom, it's done. No one could see the actual process of going back through and adding subtle highlights. It's like snap fingers and it was done, when it really isn't. Although it is much faster doing the highlights than it is doing the shading and shadowing, that's for sure. Also, when you're doing your highlights, keep in mind the direction at which you paint. Like I say, you try to avoid the whole straight line, especially if you're trying to make it look like curved. In this case, like the under and over portion of the weave. You create a soft line, it disappears just like that. If you do a straight line like that, you don't have the curvature that you're looking for to make it look like the very extended highlighted area, and you lose that curvature. You actually create a flat object instead of a curve. And again, acrylic's really easy to clean. You can clean it up really easy, make mistakes. You use your fingers to make the highlights subdued. You can use a toothpick after it's dry to go back and scratch it away if you don't like it. So you want to cut it down some based on when you start looking at the entire picture. When you're working up so close to some pieces, sometimes it's hard to see the grand scale of everything. And you lose the detail because you're up so close. It's good to step away from your piece sometimes just to look at it at different angles, look at it at further perspective. It does make a huge difference. I catch things that I forgot or I wished I had done at the time when I saw it, but because you are working with acrylic, like I said, it's easy to manipulate or change. I'm going to start doing some more live videos and some tie-ins to some of my time lapses. I might even see if there's other individuals that might even want to tap into doing a live videos, live stream, which I have not done yet. I haven't had time to explore that aspect. Like I said, if anybody has any questions or suggestions or just likes what they see, please, comments, ask questions. I don't have a problem answering them. I learned so much from so many of these wonderful artists that I follow and follow me. Things I would have never even thought of. It makes things so much quicker and so much easier because you never really get what you put into it. No one wants to buy it or pay for what you actually put time into. They don't realize the amount of time it actually takes to do some of these pieces. They're used to people, dime a dozen store. Everybody has the same thing. They don't realize these are all original handmade pieces that you can walk into another person's house and you'll never ever see. They don't realize the time it takes to do some of these pieces. It just blows them away when they start seeing time lapse. Oh yeah, it didn't take long. Do you realize that's a 5-second picture shot? That 2-minute video was like 3 hours worth of work for the artist. And then when you go to these festivals or art shows and oh, that was a laser burn. It's like, okay, let's take a look at my video. Which one was that you asked about? And you show them and they're totally beside themselves and feel like they were a horse that got kicked in the face. It's like, yeah, now who's the one that said they put it on a laser and did it? I hate people that like that. They don't realize that people actually take the time to do things like this. I watch other individuals doing the fur, things of that nature, and the number of time and layers that they had to put into them. I could not believe the amount of time until I started doing this stuff. It's unreal how much time you start realizing you actually start putting into something. You don't really feel like it when you only do an hour here, an hour there sometimes. You don't sit there for days on end adding to your original piece. Anyhow, this is James Linder. I'm the artist behind the artwork. If you have any questions, like to see more additional videos, anything, any suggestions for any future pieces, please let me know. Thank you again.